One of these public servants is the newly sworn in Senator Brian Jones, longtime Assembly member, and there was a little interregnum in between there. Hello, Brian. Mr. Senator, how are you?
Mark. I'm great. How are you?
Are you feeling good? You feeling excited? You feeling nervous? You thinking, what did I do here? How can I go back to that?
All of that is what I'm feeling. So we had our district office grand opening last night, open house, and it went well. I think we had over 500 people there. So obviously the constituents in my district are excited about me going back. And I'm looking forward to going back and doing as much good work for them as I can.
Well, as one of your constituents, I'm excited about that too. But
we didn't see you last night.
Well, I was a little busy. I have some stuff. Okay. I have stuff. It's a busy dance card. You got to get on the schedule here. I overschedule myself twice.
You didn't come down to get your picture taken with the newly sworn-in senator. I'm only slightly offended.
Nah, I was with you on Friday night at the new majority deal.
Yes, that's
we didn't
true.
get a photo because Pete Wilson was doing the stand-up. Well, not like he's doing comedy.
Exactly.
I guess he got it. At any rate, it's a thankless job, isn't it? I mean, compared to when you were there a few years ago in the Assembly, it was tough then. It's tougher now, and with Governor Newsom, it's a brave new world, whatever that's going to be.
Well, it's an amazing thing. You remember I got sworn into the Assembly in 2010 when Schwarzenegger was on his way out.
Yes, you take the negative pills, you people. Yes, that guy.
Yeah. And some of us, we supported a lot what he was doing, but, there were some things we were disappointed in. But I can tell you within 6 weeks of Brown being governor, I was missing Schwarzenegger. And this time within 6 minutes of Newsom being governor, I'll probably be missing Brown. So. Yeah,
well, it's going to be interesting. And supposedly there's this big budget surplus, and there's even PolitiFact.com has a deal today. Does California really have a budget surplus of what Jerry Brown claims as the outgoing governor, nearly $30 billion with a B? And so Brown's gotten a lot of. Is that a real number? Is it? He had a $27 billion budget deficit when he started the most recent term in 2011, and he did get conservative. This is the stuff we'll miss under Newsom, but he did cut some things back, reduce spending. There were voter-approved tax increases that helped offset it, and the economy, of course, has helped a lot. But they normally say, "Well, we have that. Let's spend."
I got to disagree with your premise right there. That
I'm reading PolitiFact's premise there. That's theirs, not mine.
Yeah, well, that Brown is frugal and cut back spending and all that. That's actually a pretty good facade that I think he's been able to pull over on the voters and the media.
Yeah, but once in a while, won't he veto something once in a while that sounds conservative?
Yeah. He'll veto something every once in a while that makes it look like he's cutting back on spending. But how much did he spend on the high-speed rail over the last 8 years that he's been? Okay, he cut back cell phones and state-operated cars for employees. Okay, big deal. That saved $10, $20 million. How much has he spent on the high-speed rail in the billions of dollars that he completely refuses to accept as a boondoggle and is never going to be operational, but he continues to spend billions of dollars a year building infrastructure for a rail system that's never going to run. He's destroyed property in Fresno and all up in, taken over people's farms all over to the Central Valley, and the media is completely complicit on letting him get away with that when they know that thing's never going to run.
So
no, he's not. He's not been frugal, and he's not saved the state money.
Okay, but we're still it's going to feel like he did once Gavin Newsom gets there. Is it possible that if Gavin Newsom, once he's in office starting in January as governor of the state, and I'll just admit, just looking fantastic. I mean, the guy knows how to take a picture, and then, if he's going to keep his hands in the back pockets and just, the former Mr. Kimberly Guilfoyle looks, he looks, that's fantastic.
I think you ought to coin that phrase.
I have.
Trademark it quick
I've used it.
Else takes it.
Yes, I've used that.
Don't encourage him, Mr. Senator.
Hey, and KG's a friend of mine. She's moved on to Donald Trump Jr., so.
Right, yeah.
She apparently likes the slicked back hair thing, but I digress.
That must be what it is, right.
At any rate, so Newsom, most likely he'll be in office for like 2 months, which is more than he showed up a lot of times on his lieutenant governor deal. And he's going to start thinking presidential. And he's going to start reading his own press clippings that he generates on his own. And he's probably at that point, maybe, I'm thinking, maybe does he go more to the left, even more than he's already gone? Or does he go back to those years where he even seemed a little pragmatic sometimes, that he would give a pro-business speech because he is a business person who's been successful.
again, that's another thing that he's been able to pull off.
Really?
As being a businessman, from what I understand, most of his businesses are supported by
the Gettys,
millionaires and millionaires and billionaires in San Francisco. So I don't know how much of the business he actually runs and operates. And
but you got to admit it was Brian Jones, State Senator Brian Jones, newly elected state senator and newly sworn in state senator here in California. Brian Jones on AM 760. Mark Larson here, but you have to hand it to him. If the business decision was, I'll find a good sugar daddy in terms of Mr. Getty. I mean, yes. I'm talking about the J. Paul Getty oil fortune, not the this.
We'd all be great businessmen if we could do that.
Well, some do. So there's that.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, I don't know him that well. Personally, obviously I know his persona in politics. I've traveled with him once to Texas, and the one thing I have figured out about Gavin is he's very cognitive of his audience, whoever he's speaking to, and he's able to. I don't want to use the word chameleon, but that's a good. That's
the word I thought about. Funny you mentioned that.
Yeah. Yep. So he's able to look like and sound like the audience that he's speaking to, and so and I'll give you an example. When I got sworn in 2010, we had a Republican breakfast for newly elected assembly members and senators, and he was the keynote speaker, and he came into the Republican breakfast. He sounded like us, and everybody in that room, including him, knew. He shared very little in common with us as far as philosophy and principles, but he was able to, coin his speech that morning to sound like us. When we went to Texas, he sounded like he was a pro-oil, pro-development, low-tax Texan because he knew that was his audience. So it's yet to be seen, and I don't think we'll know if he has a true north. We won't know what it is until the second year of the first session.
Do you think he runs for president, Newsom, in 2020?
I don't know. I mean, if he does run for president in 2020, that race starts in January, so he's got to get sworn in, and then the very next day announce he's running for president. I don't know if he could get away with that with his supporters, because I don't know his supporters that well. If he does run for president, Mark, he's going to have to move away from the left a little bit, because what plays in California does not play in the rest of the country.
Right. Brian Jones, California State Senator, again, a job that requires a lot of intestinal fortitude and home support.
Or insanity.
Yeah, all of that. One of the things that I think was 6 other governors pushed the other day, trying to get the outgoing governor, Governor Jerry Moonbeam Brown, the version 2.0 version of Jerry Brown, to commute all the sentences on death row. Does that go anywhere? Is there any sign that because again, sometimes the perception is he's tougher on law and order, except when you get to the year-end Christmas season parole list.
Right. So, and he's done that in the past, never to the level that and I just learned about this morning. So, are you saying other state governors?
Yeah, it was like 6. I think it was 6 governors did something like that. This came out last week. We talked about it on the show, and I don't have it in front of me right now. But it was like urging him to do what they had done. I remember in Illinois when George Ryan went to the pokey. He was a Republican, wasn't he?
Are the other governors doing that too, or are they just trying to get?
No, well, they commuted him. They commuted
by himself.
Well, they commuted him to life in Illinois, I think, and that's based on let's say there's 100. Well, we have like 700 or 800 literally on death row in California. And some of them deserve to be there on death row. Maybe I'll just say a majority of them do. But
probably, Mark. I mean, it's got to be. Okay, let's say out of the 700 and some whatever death row inmates are, 2 of them maybe falsely accused or whatever.
Right, and that's what my point is. Then that's what they did in Illinois. They said here's 1 or 2 that were falsely accused, and that's horrible. So they must all be suspect, and then they commuted them all from death penalty to life.
Mark, it may not make for good radio, but let me encourage you to take an hour at some point in time, or 10 minutes a day for a week, whatever, and talk about who these guys are on death row. They're not human beings; they're animals. They deserve to be on death row. There's a reason why they're there. The crimes that they committed are so heinous that most of the case, if you were to read it out loud, you couldn't read it on your radio program because it's that so gross and heinous. And these are the people that the ACLU and others want to let out back on our streets and live among us. And that's not acceptable at all, period.
Well, we've seen how that's gone with Prop 47 and particularly Prop 57, and there are certain places in town where they just happen to be close to where the trolley goes, where you see surges. Businesses will tell you this, business owners, about surges through the day. They can tell when there's a new release going because there's a whole lot of new people in the neighborhood just showing up and hanging out and setting up camp in the parking lot. And that continues to be a big issue. Do you expect the homeless issue, and we're almost out of time here, but do you expect, Brian Jones, that the homeless issue will have a real big focus when you're in the Senate and Assembly? I mean, they talk about affordable housing, but the numbers are staggering. We have a third of all the homeless in the nation in California.
It will be for me. This last 2 years, I've spent a lot more time downtown, and so I've experienced this homeless situation, personally, even here in Santee and El Cajon and other parts of my district, where historically there's been a little bit here, a little bit there. Now we have in complete tent cities built in our river here in Santee and El Cajon, the water channels near Parkway Plaza.
Oh yeah,
it's an entire city, and so yes, we've got to address that. I'm encouraged that Toni Atkins from San Diego is the Senate Pro Tem, and she's talked about homelessness and it being important to her. So I'm hoping we can get up there and get some bipartisan solutions. And let's face it, the legislature in the last 8 years is to blame for this. The AB 109 in 2011, and then Prop 47 and 57 on the ballots. All three of those things combined to have contributed, if not completely caused, our homeless situation. And look, I could maybe agree with Brown that not all of these folks belong in prison, but they don't belong on the streets either. That's not humane. So we've got to find a solution in between folks living in tents and relieving themselves on public streets and causing there was a reason why hepatitis A broke out downtown. There's a reason for that.
Yep. And I got to say, a lot
public safety.
Right, and a lot of entities, whether San Diego City or the county, or I know in El Cajon specifically, you mentioned that Bill Wells and the team really working. And what I hear from people like these leaders is we do everything possible we can up to the point where we know the lawsuits are going to begin, and that's part of the challenge here because it's California. Brian Jones, if you just once you get back to work there in January as the newly minted state senator, just get everything done by about the 1st of February. Get it all fixed. We appreciate it.
I got to tell you, Mark, I'm having a nice, as I was expecting to have a nice day. I'm cooking lunch for all of my staff because they did a great job yesterday at the open house, and my Sacramento staff are down for the day. And I was expecting to have a nice, easy, relaxing lunch, and they're all over at my house right now. And now you've got me all wound up again.
Perfect is what I do. Merry Christmas and blessings. All right, see you later. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
Brian Jones, our man in Sacramento.